The great chamber of the Galactic Council had never been so quiet. Representatives from 12 different species sat in their seats, their eyes fixed on the holographic image floating in the center of the room. It showed a small blue planet covered in oceans and green land. The planet was called Earth. It had become the most talked-about world in the galaxy. High Arbiter Zithos rose from his chair. He was a tall creature with gray skin and 4 eyes that could see in every direction at once. His people, the Valorians, had ruled the council for 3,000 years. They believed they knew everything about how the galaxy worked. Today they would learn how wrong they were. "We are here to discuss the human problem," Zithos announced. His voice echoed through the chamber. "These creatures have refused our offer of friendship. They do not want to join our trade alliance. They do not want our technology. They want to be left alone." A loud clicking sound came from the other side of the chamber. Commander Vraxel of the Kethari Dominion stood up. He was an insectoid creature, standing 8 feet tall with a hard shell covering his body. His species had conquered more worlds than anyone could count. They were known across the galaxy as brutal warriors who never showed mercy. "The humans are fools," Vraxel said. His mandibles clicked together as he spoke. "They are a young species. They have only been traveling between stars for 100 of their years. Their fleet is small and weak. I say we teach them a lesson they will never forget." Ambassador Kelthara of the Sylvian Collective raised one of her delicate arms. Her species was known for their wisdom and their ability to see things others missed. They had been watching humanity for a very long time. "I must speak against this plan," she said. Her body glowed with soft blue light as she talked. "The humans are not like other species we have encountered. They grow faster than anyone we have ever seen. They went from riding horses to walking on their moon in less than 100 years. Such speed is unheard of in galactic history." Vraxel made a sound of disgust. "Speed means nothing. Power is all that matters. My armada has 3,000 warships. The humans have barely 200. Most of their ships are not even built for war. They use them to carry cargo and explore space. This will not be a battle. It will be an execution." Several other representatives nodded in agreement. The math was simple: 3,000 against 200. The humans had no chance. "Then it is decided," Zithos declared. "The Kethari Dominion has permission to bring Earth into our alliance by force. May this be a lesson to all young species who think they can stand alone." Far across the galaxy, on the planet Earth, a different meeting was taking place. Deep underground, in a secret base hidden beneath a mountain, Admiral Samuel Drake read a message that had just arrived from a spy satellite near Alpha Centauri. Drake was 58 years old. His hair had turned gray from years of stress and battle. He had fought in 3 wars to protect Earth's colonies from pirates and criminals, but nothing had prepared him for what he was reading now. 3,000 ships, he said quietly. "They're sending 3,000 ships." Captain Laura Mitchell stood beside him. She was in charge of all the weapons platforms that floated in orbit around Earth. She was younger than Drake. Only 35, but she had proven herself to be one of the smartest officers in the fleet. "We can't fight those numbers," she said. "Our entire fleet could be destroyed in hours." Drake looked up from the message. There was something in his eyes that Mitchell had never seen before. It was not fear. It was something closer to excitement. "You know what the Kethari don't understand about us?" Drake asked. "They think our small fleet means we are weak. They think because we are young, we are stupid. But they have never read our history books." He stood up and walked to a large screen on the wall. With a touch, he brought up images of Earth's past. Soldiers storming beaches against impossible odds. Pilots flying into battle knowing they would not return. Ordinary people standing up to tyrants with nothing but their courage. "Humans have been fighting against impossible odds since the beginning of our existence," Drake continued. "We have faced extinction more times than we can count. From ice ages to plagues to nuclear weapons, something has always tried to wipe us out. And every single time, we have survived." Mitchell stared at the images on the screen. She had studied these moments in school, but seeing them now, with an alien invasion coming, they felt different. They felt like a promise. "Get me Dr. Nathan Cole at Prometheus Station," Drake ordered. Tell him Project Archimedes is now active. And contact every ship in our fleet. I want all captains on a secure channel in 1 hour." Mitchell nodded and hurried to carry out his orders. Drake turned back to the screen. The images had changed to show Earth from space. It looked so small and fragile, floating in the darkness. But Drake knew better. That little planet had produced a species that refused to die no matter what the universe threw at them. "You want to invade Earth?" he whispered to the empty room. "You have no idea what you're getting into." In the weeks that followed, Earth prepared for war, but not in the way anyone expected. There were no panic riots in the streets. There were no people trying to flee the planet. Instead, something remarkable happened. Humanity came together in a way they never had before, in factories around the world. Workers pulled double shifts building weapons and ships. In laboratories, scientists worked without sleep to finish projects that had been kept secret for decades. In military bases, soldiers trained for a fight that most people thought they could not win. The governments of Earth made a choice that surprised everyone. They told their people the truth. They explained that aliens were coming to conquer them. They explained that the enemy had more ships and better technology. And they explained that Earth was going to fight anyway. Instead of causing fear, this honesty created unity. Neighbors who had argued for years suddenly became friends. Countries that had been enemies for centuries started working together. When humanity learned they were not alone in the universe, they finally realized they were all on the same team. And somewhere in the darkness of space, 3,000 Cathari warships began their journey toward Earth. Commander Vraxel sat in his command chair, already imagining his victory parade. He thought this would be the easiest conquest of his career. He could not have been more wrong. Dr. Nathan Cole had not slept in 4 days. His eyes were red and tired, but he could not stop working. In the massive underground laboratory beneath the Nevada desert, thousands of scientists and engineers rushed around him like ants building a nest. They were racing against time itself. "How long do we have?" asked Dr. Maria Santos, his assistant and closest friend. She handed him a cup of coffee, knowing he would need it. "The Cathari fleet will reach Earth in 3 weeks, Cole replied. He took a long drink of the coffee and winced at how bitter it was. 3 weeks to finish 30 years of work. The laboratory was called Prometheus Station, and it was humanity's greatest secret. For 3 decades, ever since Earth had detected the first alien signal from deep space, scientists here had been preparing for this moment. They knew that someday something would come from the stars. They wanted to be ready. Cole walked through the facility, checking on different projects. In one section, engineers were testing new weapons called resonance cannons. These weapons did not shoot bullets or lasers. Instead, they fired beams of energy that could break apart the very atoms that held matter together. One shot could destroy a ship from the inside out. "The weapons are ready," Santos reported, reading from her tablet. "We have 72 platforms equipped with resonance cannons. 30 on Earth orbit, 20 on the Moon, and 22 on Mars." Cole nodded, but did not smile. "It's not enough. 3,000 ships against 72 weapons. Even if every shot destroys a ship, we're still badly outnumbered." "That's why we have the fleet," Santos reminded him. She brought up a hologram showing Earth's 200 warships. They looked small and outdated compared to the Cathari vessels. But appearances could be deceiving. Hidden inside each ship was technology that would surprise even the most advanced species in the galaxy. "Quantum drives are installed in all vessels," Santos continued. "Our ships can now move 3 times faster than anything the Cathari have, and the new shielding should protect them from most enemy weapons." Cole finally allowed himself a small smile. "We've spent 30 years preparing for guests. It would be rude not to give them a proper welcome." Above the planet, Admiral Drake coordinated the positioning of the human fleet. Each ship had a specific location, carefully calculated by military computers running millions of simulations. Every angle, every distance, every possible enemy approach had been considered. "All vessels report ready," Admiral Captain Mitchell announced from her station on the orbital defense platform called Sentinel-1. Drake stood on the bridge of his flagship, carrier named Endeavor. It was the largest ship in the human fleet, carrying 50 fighter craft and 500 crew members. Around him, officers worked at their stations with focused intensity. Remember our strategy? Drake broadcast to all ships. We're not trying to destroy their fleet in one glorious battle. We're going to make them bleed for every inch of space. Hit them, retreat, hit them again. Never give them an easy target. On Earth below, the preparations went far beyond military matters. Schools were closed, and children were moved to underground shelters carved deep into mountains. Hospitals prepared for casualties. Food and water were stored in hidden locations around the world, but not everyone was hiding. Millions of ordinary people volunteered to help in any way they could. In a small town in Kansas, a retired teacher named Dorothy Patterson organized her neighbors to grow extra food. In Mumbai, a teenage programmer named Raj helped military hackers improve their systems. In Berlin, a grandmother named Hilda turned her basement into a medical supply station. This was what the Cathari did not understand about humans. When threatened, they did not scatter and panic. They came together. They helped each other. They fought back with everything they had. Secretary General Lisa Hoffman addressed the world from the United Nations building. She was a calm woman of 60 with silver hair and steady eyes. She had spent her life bringing people together, solving problems that seemed impossible. Now, she faced the greatest challenge any human leader had ever known. "My fellow humans," she began, her voice broadcast to every corner of the planet. "In 3 weeks, an alien fleet will arrive at Earth. They have come to conquer us. They believe we are weak because we are young. They believe we will surrender because we are outnumbered." She paused, looking directly into the camera. "They are wrong. Humanity has never surrendered. We have never given up. When we face darkness, we light a fire. When we face giants, we find a stone. When we face extinction, we find a way to survive." Across the world, billions of people watched and listened. Fear was replaced by determination. Doubt was replaced by hope. They knew the odds were against them. They also knew that odds had never stopped humanity before. To the aliens watching this broadcast, Hoffman continued, "I have a message for you as well. Earth is our home. We were born here. We have lived and died here for 100,000 years. Every grain of sand, every drop of water, every breath of air belongs to us. If you want our planet, you will have to take it from our cold, dead hands, and I promise you this, we will not make it easy." In the halls of the Galactic Council, Ambassador Kelthara watched the broadcast with growing unease. She had studied humans for decades. She knew they were capable of things other species could not imagine. And she saw something in Secretary General Hoffman's eyes that frightened her. It was the look of someone who would rather die than surrender. "They are going to fight," she whispered to herself. "Even knowing they cannot win, they are going to fight." Commander Vraxel watched the same broadcast from his flagship. He laughed at the human leader's words, his mandibles clicking with amusement. "Brave words from a doomed species," he said to his officers. "In 3 weeks, we will see how brave they really are." His fleet continued forward through the darkness of space. 3,000 warships carrying 2 million soldiers, all hungry for conquest. They had crushed 47 worlds before this one. They expected Earth to be number 40-8, but Earth had secrets the Cathari could not imagine. Deep beneath the surface, in laboratories and bunkers scattered around the world, humanity's true weapons waited in silence. They were not just machines of war. They were the product of human creativity, human determination, and human refusal to accept defeat. The countdown had begun. 3 weeks until the battle that would change the galaxy forever, the Cathari. Fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. 3,000 warships appeared in perfect formation, their weapons already charging. Commander Vraxel stood on the bridge of his massive flagship, watching the tactical display with satisfaction. "Begin scanning the human defenses," he ordered. His officers worked quickly, their instruments reaching across the empty space between planets. The results came back within minutes, and Vraxel felt his confidence grow even stronger. 200 ships in Earth orbit, his second-in-command, Subcommander Crix, reported. Most of them are small vessels. Their largest carrier holds only 50 fighters. We also detect weapons platforms around Earth, the Moon, and Mars. And their weapons? Vraxel asked. Primitive plasma arrays and kinetic projectiles. Nothing that can penetrate our shields. Vraxel made a clicking sound of pleasure. As I expected, these humans are children playing with toys. Open a channel to their planet. It is time to give them one last chance to surrender. The message that reached Earth was translated into every human language. Vraxel's voice echoed from speakers around the world, cold and filled with contempt. Creatures of Earth, he announced. I am Commander Vraxel of the Cathari Dominion. Your planet has been chosen for integration into the Galactic Trade Alliance. You will surrender all military vessels immediately. You will transfer control of your governments to Cathari administrators. You will provide workers for our mining operations in your solar system. You comply, your species will be allowed to continue existing under our supervision. If you resist, your cities will be destroyed. Your military will be eliminated. Your people will be scattered across 100 worlds as slaves. You have 1 hour to respond. Choose wisely. The message ended, leaving silence in its wake. In Unity Base, Prel, Drake listened to the ultimatum with his arms crossed. Around him, his officers watched with tense expressions. They all knew this moment would come, but hearing the alien commander's arrogant words made it feel real in a way nothing else could. Open a channel, Drake said quietly. All frequencies. I want the whole galaxy to hear this. The communications officer worked quickly. Within seconds, Drake's response was being broadcast not just to the Cathari fleet, but to every species with equipment pointed at Earth. This is Admiral Samuel Drake of the United Earth Defense Force, he began. His voice was calm and steady, showing no fear. We have received your demand for surrender. Here is our answer. Paused, letting the silence stretch for a moment. We will not surrender. We will not bow. We will not give you our planet, our freedom, or our future. You come here with 3,000 ships and think that makes you strong? But you don't understand what strength really means. Strength is not having the biggest army. Strength is standing up when everyone says you should fall down. Strength is fighting when everyone says you cannot win. You have studied our numbers, Commander. But have you studied our history? We are the species that walked through fire to discover new lands. We are the species that flew to our moon with less technology than a simple calculator. We are the species that split the atom, cured diseases that killed millions, and built machines that think for themselves. We have fought each other for 10,000 years, learning every trick of war that exists. We have faced extinction from ice ages, plagues, and asteroids. And we are still here. We are always still here. So here's my promise to you. If you want Earth, you will have to take it from us. You will have to fight for every mile of space between here and your home. You will have to pay for every inch of our soil with the blood of your soldiers. And when this is over, you will understand why threatening humanity was the worst mistake of your life. Drake leaned forward, his eyes burning with determination. You have 1 hour to turn around and go home. After that, we will teach you what it means to invade Earth. Drake out. The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, representatives of 12 species sat in stunned silence. No one had ever spoken to the Cathari that way. No species had ever dared to refuse them so directly. Ambassador Kelthara felt a strange warmth in her chest. She had hoped the humans would surprise everyone, and they had not disappointed her. But she also felt fear. The Cathari were not known for their mercy. After this insult, they would want to make an example of Earth. On his flagship, Commander Vraxel was shaking with rage. His mandibles clicked so fast they made a continuous buzzing sound. No species had ever spoken to him like that. No planet had ever refused to kneel before his power. They dare? He hissed. They dare insult the Cathari Dominion. Sub-Commander Crix approached carefully. Commander, perhaps we should not underestimate them. The energy readings from some of their installations are unusual. Our sensors cannot identify the technology. Vraxel spun around, his forearms grabbing Crix by the throat. You think I should be afraid of primitives with strange readings? You think I should retreat because of their brave words?" He threw Crix aside and turned to face his bridge crew. "All ships, battle formation. We attack immediately. Do not wait for the hour to end. I want every human weapon platform destroyed in the first wave. I want their fleet scattered like dust in the solar wind. And I want their admiral brought to me alive so I can show him what happens to those who defy the Cathari." 3,000 warships began moving toward Earth. Their engines glowed with power as they accelerated across the darkness of space. Weapon systems hummed as they prepared to unleash destruction on a scale few civilizations had ever witnessed. On Earth, alarms sounded in every military installation. Admiral Drake watched the enemy fleet approach on his tactical display. They were not waiting for the hour to end. They were coming now. "All ships, prepare for combat," he ordered. "Activate all weapon platforms. Launch all phi." Gittersy looked around at his officers. Many of them were young, barely old enough to have finished their training. They were facing the most powerful military force in the known galaxy. By all logic, they should have been terrified. Instead, he saw determination. He saw courage. He saw the same fire that had burned in human hearts since the first caveman stood up to a predator 10 times his size. "Today," Drake said, "we show the galaxy what humanity is made of." The Battle of Earth was about to begin. The first wave of Cathari ships crossed the orbit of the moon, their weapons already glowing with deadly energy. Commander Vraxel watched from his flagship with eager anticipation. In minutes, he expected to see human defense platforms exploding like fireworks in the darkness of space. Then the moon lit up. Massive beams of white light erupted from structures hidden beneath the lunar surface. These were the resonance cannons that Dr. Cole and his team had spent 30 years developing. The Galactic Council had declared this technology impossible 4,000 years ago. Humanity had made it work anyway. The first beam struck a Cathari destroyer. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ship began to shake violently. Its shields flickered and failed. Its hull cracked like an egg. In less than 3 seconds, the entire vessel broke apart into a cloud of floating debris. 12 ships vanished in the first volley. Vraxel stared at his tactical display in disbelief. Those ships had been using the most advanced shields in the galaxy. Nothing should have been able to penetrate them so easily. "What is this weapon?" he demanded. "Our sensors show no projectile, no radiation that should affect shielding." Sub-Commander Crix examined the data with trembling claws. "The beams are targeting molecular bonds directly, Commander. They are breaking apart the very structure of our hulls. This technology, it should not exist." Before Vraxel could respond, more alarms filled the bridge. Similar weapons were firing from Mars, catching the edges of his formation in a deadly crossfire. Ships that had survived 100 battles were disintegrating without a chance to fight back. "All ships, evasive maneuvers," Vraxel ordered. "Focus attack on those weapon platforms." But the platforms were just the beginning. The 200 human ships that had seemed so small and insignificant suddenly came to life. They moved with speed that should have been impossible, darting between the larger Cathari vessels like angry wasps. Their weapons were less powerful than the resonance cannons, but they were everywhere at once. Captain Mitchell led a squadron of fighters from the carrier Endeavour. Her small craft weaved through enemy fire with movements that no Cathari pilot could follow. Human pilots flew their ships like extensions of their own bodies, taking risks that would be considered suicidal by any other species. "They are insane," Crix reported, watching the battle unfold. "They fly directly into our defensive formations. They sacrifice individual ships to destroy our larger vessels." Vraxel watched a human fighter crash deliberately into the bridge of one of his cruisers. The pilot had aimed himself like a missile, dying to take an enemy ship with him. "Why would they do this?" Vraxel whispered. "Why would they throw away their lives?" He did not understand because he could not understand. The Cathari viewed war as a calculation. Ships and soldiers were resources to be spent carefully. Victory went to whoever had more resources at the end. Humans did not think that way. For them, war was personal. Every pilot in that battle was fighting for their home, their family, their future. They were not sacrificing themselves because they wanted to die. They were sacrificing themselves because they refused to let Earth fall. On the Endeavour, Admiral Drake coordinated the battle with cold precision. He had studied every engagement in human history, learning from thousands of years of warfare. He knew that smaller forces could defeat larger ones if they were smart enough, fast enough, and brave enough. Falcon Squadron, attack the enemy flagship's engines, he ordered. Eagle Squadron, provide cover. I want that ship immobilized in 10 minutes. The squadrons responded instantly. Human fighters swarmed toward Vraxel's massive vessel, dodging defensive fire with impossible skill. Several were destroyed, their pilots dying in balls of flame. But the others kept coming, never slowing, never retreating. Get them off my ship, Vraxel screamed. His gunners tried, but the humans were too fast. They seemed to know where the defensive fire would be before it arrived. In reality, this was thanks to the quantum communication network that connected all human vessels. Every pilot could see what every other pilot saw. They moved as one organism, perfectly coordinated. A volley of torpedoes struck the flagship's engines. The massive ship shuddered, its acceleration dropping to a fraction of normal. Vraxel grabbed his command chair to keep from falling. Damage report. Main engines at 30%, Commander. We cannot pursue the human fleet at full speed. For hours into the battle, Vraxel finally faced the truth. He was losing. His 3,000 ships had been reduced to less than 2,000. The humans had lost barely 50 vessels. Every tactic he tried, they countered. Every formation he used, they dismantled. How is this possible? He demanded. We outnumber them 15-1. Sub-Commander Crix had no answer. Nothing in Cathari military doctrine covered this situation. They had never faced an enemy who fought with such creativity, such passion, such complete disregard for their own survival. In the orbital defense platform, Sentinel-1. Captain Mitchell received an update from Admiral Drake. All platforms have fired their primary weapons, she reported. Resonance cannon power cells are depleted. We're switching to secondary systems. Understood, Drake replied. Pull our fighters back for now. Let the enemy think we're retreating. When they pursue, we'll hit them from the flanks. The strategy worked perfectly. Cathari ships surged forward, eager to finally catch the fleeing human vessels. They flew straight into a trap. Human ships that had hidden behind asteroids and debris emerged suddenly, their weapons blazing. Another 300 Cathari vessels fell in the ambush. By the 5th hour, Commander Vraxel made the decision that would haunt him for the rest of his life. All ships, retreat. Fall back to the Cygnus relay. The order spread through what remained of his fleet. Ships that had never run from battle turned and fled toward the edge of the solar system. They had come to conquer Earth. They were leaving in disgrace. But Admiral Drake was not finished. All ships pursuit formation, he ordered. They came to our home. They threatened our families. They are not leaving until they understand exactly what that means. The human fleet surged after the fleeing enemy. For hours, they harried the Cathari ships, picking off stragglers and damaged vessels. Every time Vraxel thought he had escaped, more human fighters appeared from nowhere. By the time the survivors reached the Cygnus relay, 3,000 ships had become 1,800. Nearly half the Cathari fleet had been destroyed by a force. Everyone had expected to crush in hours. On the bridge of his crippled flagship, Vraxel stared at the distant blue planet that had caused so much destruction. Remember this world, he said to his remaining officers. Remember Earth, and never forget what happens when you underestimate humans. The Battle of Earth was over. Humanity had won. The emergency session of the Galactic Council drew more attention than any meeting in recorded history. Every species with faster-than-light travel sent representatives. The Great Chamber on Nexus Prime was filled with creatures of every size and shape, all of them wanting to understand what had happened at Earth. Commander Vraxel stood before the assembly. The one-sprowed warrior looked broken. His shell was cracked in several places from the damage his flagship had suffered. His 4 eyes stared at the floor, unable to meet the gazes of his fellow council members. Tell us what happened, High Arbiter, Zithos demanded. His voice was cold with barely controlled anger. You took 3,000 of our finest warships. You returned with less than 2,000. Explain yourself. Vraxel's mandibles clicked weakly. They should not have been able to do this. Every scan, every analysis told us they were primitive. Their fleet was tiny. Their weapons were outdated. Everything pointed to an easy victory. And yet you lost, Ambassador Calthera said. There was no satisfaction in her voice. She had warned them this would happen. She took no pleasure in being right. We did not just lose, Vraxel admitted. We were humiliated. They moved faster than our sensors could track. They used weapons our scientists cannot explain. Their pilots flew like possessed creatures, throwing themselves into certain death just to destroy our ships. The chamber buzzed with worried murmurs. The Kethari were the most feared military force in the galaxy. If they could be beaten so badly by a young species with a small fleet, what did that mean for everyone else? The main doors of the chamber suddenly opened. Every head turned to watch as a small group of humans walked in. Admiral Drake led them, still wearing the same uniform he had worn during the battle. Behind him came Captain Mitchell, Dr. Cole, and Secretary General Lisa Hoffman. I believe we were invited to this session, Hoffman said calmly. We apologize for the delay. It is a long journey from Earth. Arbiter Zithos gestured for the humans to approach the central platform. Secretary General Hoffman, your species has caused quite a disturbance in our corner of the galaxy. Hoffman smiled slightly. We did not start this fight, Arbiter. We merely finished it. Finished it. Vraxel suddenly burst out. You call destroying over 1,000 of our ships finishing it? You call humiliating the Kethari Dominion finishing it? Admiral Drake stepped forward. His eyes locked onto the insectoid commander without fear. You came to our planet with an army, Drake said. You demanded that we surrender our freedom, our governments, our very way of life. You threatened to turn our people into slaves if we refused. What exactly did you expect us to do? The chamber fell silent. Drake continued, his voice growing stronger with every word. I want everyone here to understand something about humanity. We are not a peaceful species. We have been fighting since the moment we climbed down from trees. We fought animals that wanted to eat us. We fought each other for land and resources. We fought diseases that killed millions. We have been at war with something our entire existence. He paused, looking around the room at the assembled representatives of galactic civilization. But we have never fought a war for conquest. Every time we pick up weapons, it is to defend something we love. Our homes, our families, our freedom. And when we fight for those things, we do not know how to quit. We do not know how to surrender. We only know how to win or die trying. Dr. Cole held up a small device. This is a quantum resonance emitter. 4,000 years ago, your scientists declared this technology impossible. They said the physics did not work. They abandoned the research and moved on to other things. He smiled. We did not have 4,000 years of tradition telling us it was impossible. We just tried everything we could think of until something worked. That is what humans do. We solve problems that everyone else has given up on. Secretary General Hoffman stepped forward. We do not want war with the Galactic Council. We never did. All we ever wanted was to be left alone to develop our own way, to explore the stars at our own pace, to make our own choices about our future. What we want now is simple. We want membership in this council. We want the same rights and protections as every other species, and we want to guarantee that no one will ever again threaten our planet with invasion. High Arbiter Zithos exchanged glances with the other council members. The situation had changed dramatically. A few weeks ago, humans were primitives to be conquered. Now, they were a military power that had humiliated one of the strongest fleets in the galaxy. And if we refuse these demands? Zithos asked carefully. Captain Mitchell's hand moved to rest on her sidearm. Then we go home and continue building our fleet. The Cathari know what we can do with 200 ships. Imagine what we will do with 2,000. Or 20,000. We do not want to be your enemies, Hoffman added quickly. We want to be your partners. Humanity has much to offer the galaxy. Our creativity, our determination, our ability to see solutions where others see only problems. Let us join you as equals, and everyone benefits. The vote took only minutes. Every species supported humanity's membership in the council, including the Kethari, who voted yes out of fear rather than respect. The resolution included a formal apology for the invasion and a guarantee that Earth would be protected under galactic law as the human delegation prepared to leave. Ambassador Kelthara approached Secretary General Hoffman. "Your species is remarkable," the alien ambassador said. Her bioluminescent patterns glowed with warm colors. "In all my centuries of life, I have never seen anything like what you accomplished." Hoffman shook her hand in the human way. "We are just getting started, Ambassador. For thousands of years, we have been fighting each other. Now we can finally look outward. There are stars to explore, mysteries to solve, new friends to make." "That is precisely what concerns me," Kelthara replied, with a soft laugh. "The galaxy has been relatively peaceful for millennia. I suspect humanity is going to make things much more interesting." Back on Earth, celebrations erupted around the world. Humanity had faced an alien invasion and won. The heroes of the battle were honored with parades and medals. The fallen were mourned as martyrs who had died defending their home. But the celebrations did not last forever. Within weeks, Earth's shipyards were working again. New vessels were being built. New weapons were being designed. The lesson of the Cathari invasion had been learned well. Humanity was part of the galaxy now, and the galaxy was full of dangers. Admiral Drake stood on the bridge of a newly built carrier, watching construction crews assemble ships in the orbital shipyard. Captain Mitchell joined him, carrying reports from the Defense Department. "The Council has asked us to participate in a peacekeeping mission near the Cygnus sector," she said. "Some pirates have been attacking trade routes." Drake smiled. "Tell them we would be happy to help. It's time the galaxy learned what we can do when we're not fighting for survival." Mitchell returned the smile. "What do you think they'll say when they see us coming to help instead of defend?" "I think they'll say the same thing the Cathari said before the battle," Drake replied. "They'll underestimate us. They'll think we're primitive and weak and lucky. And then they'll learn the truth." He looked out at the stars that filled the endless darkness of space. Somewhere out there, trillions of beings were living their lives, unaware that everything had just changed. "Humanity is here," Drake said quietly, "and we're just getting started." In the Great Hall of the Galactic Council, a new flag hung beside the banners of 12 other species. It showed a blue and green planet circled by a ring of stars. Beneath it were words in a language few aliens could read, but many had learned to respect. "Earth, home of humanity. We do not surrender. The galaxy would never be the same."